The billionaire woman had just fired the quiet maintenance worker in front of 30 employees when her daughter suddenly broke free from her caregiver and ran across the marble lobby straight into his arms. The little girl had never willingly hugged a stranger before. In fact, after a tragedy 3 years earlier, she had barely trusted anyone outside her mother. Yet that afternoon, she wrapped both arms around the man's waist as if she had been waiting for him her entire life. The billionaire froze because she recognized the look on her daughter's face immediately. For the first time in years, she looked completely safe. What nobody in that building knew was that the man she had just fired was a former Navy SEAL who had spent years protecting people in silence. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a meaningful comment, and subscribe to our channel so you can remain part of our family and our community. Vivian Caldwell had built her fortune by refusing to accept failure. At 42, she was the founder and CEO of a multinational technology company, a woman whose decisions could move millions of dollars before lunchtime. She lived in a magnificent estate, traveled with security, and had assistants managing nearly every detail of her life. But behind the powerful image was one thing she could never control: the pain of her 11-year-old daughter, Elsie. 3 years earlier, Elsie had survived a terrible accident that took the life of someone she loved deeply. Although she recovered physically, the emotional damage was severe. She became withdrawn, stopped trusting unfamiliar people, and developed an intense fear of being separated from Vivian. Therapists helped her slowly, but progress was painfully slow. Vivian responded by becoming fiercely protective. She surrounded Elsie with professionals, security personnel, tutors, and caregivers. Every person who came near her daughter had to pass an extensive background check. Vivian believed she was protecting Elsie from the world. She did not realize that she was also building a wall around her. That wall began to crack when a man named Graham Mercer joined the maintenance team at Caldwell Technologies. Graham was 38, a single father raising his 8-year-old son, Felix. He worked long hours repairing doors, elevators, electrical systems, and anything else that kept the massive headquarters functioning. He was quiet, respectful, and almost invisible among the executives. Nobody knew that before civilian life, Graham had served as a Navy SEAL. He had spent years in dangerous places where discipline mattered more than comfort. He had learned how to remain calm under pressure, read people without judgment, and protect others without expecting recognition. After leaving the military, Graham wanted a completely different life. His marriage had ended, and raising Felix became his priority. He wanted his son to know him not as a soldier but as a father who made pancakes on weekends, attended school events, and kept promises. Graham never talked about his military past. Vivian barely noticed him. That changed one afternoon when Elsie wandered into an employee's garden during a company visit. She had become overwhelmed by a crowded reception and slipped away from her caregiver. Graham happened to be repairing a broken gate nearby. He noticed that Elsie was frightened, but he did not rush toward her. Instead, he stayed several feet away and quietly continued working. That small act surprised her. Most adults immediately approached her whenever she looked uncomfortable. Graham gave her space. After several minutes, Elsie moved closer. Graham showed her the broken gate and allowed her to hold a small tool while he repaired it. He did not ask personal questions. He did not tell her she had nothing to fear. He simply treated her like a normal child. When Vivian found them, she saw her daughter smiling. It was a smile she had not seen often enough. She thanked Graham but remained cautious. Over the next several weeks, Elsie repeatedly sought him out. Graham sometimes brought Felix to the employee garden after school, and the children quickly became friends. Felix had an easygoing personality and never treated Elsie like she was fragile. He invited her into games, asked her opinion about drawings, and let her win occasionally without making it obvious. Graham noticed something important about Elsie. She was not incapable of connecting with people. She simply needed people who did not force connection on her. Vivian began watching from a distance. Instead of feeling grateful, she became worried. Her daughter was trusting a man she barely knew. So Vivian ordered a complete background investigation. The report came back clean. Graham Mercer was a decorated former Navy SEAL, a single father, and a respected employee with no criminal history. But Vivian still felt uneasy. She had learned long ago that people could hide things. One Monday morning, an incident pushed her fear too far. Graham had been assigned to repair a security door near the executive offices. A junior manager mistakenly accused him of ignoring a safety warning, and Graham calmly explained that the problem had been caused by faulty equipment rather than negligence. Vivian overheard the argument. Already stressed by a major business crisis, she assumed Graham was being difficult. She called him into her office and fired him. Graham accepted the decision without anger. He thanked her for the opportunity and said he would make arrangements to collect his tools. Then he walked toward the lobby. Vivian believed the matter was finished. It was not. Elsie had been waiting nearby with her caregiver. The moment she saw Graham leaving, something inside her changed. She pulled away from the caregiver. She ran. Vivian turned just in time to see her daughter sprint across the lobby. Graham stopped. Elsie crashed into his arms. He instinctively caught her, but he looked toward Vivian as if asking whether he should let go. Vivian could not move. Elsie had not run toward anyone like that since the accident. She clung to Graham and buried her face against him. Graham gently placed one hand on her shoulder. He did not say anything. He simply let her stay there. Vivian's anger disappeared. She suddenly realized that her daughter had chosen Graham. Not because he had money. Not because he was powerful. Not because he had been ordered to help her. Because she trusted him. Vivian approached slowly. Elsie looked at her mother with tears in her eyes and held Graham's hand. For the first time, Vivian saw the consequences of her own behavior. She had fired the one person who had earned her daughter's trust without demanding anything in return. Vivian apologized. Graham accepted it but refused to return immediately. He explained that he could not continue working somewhere if every disagreement ended with someone losing their job. He had learned during his military career that leadership required responsibility, not pride. Vivian was stunned. She was used to people agreeing with her. Graham was not disrespectful. He was simply honest. She asked him to come back. He agreed only after Vivian promised to review the company's treatment of lower-level employees and create a fairer system for handling disputes. That was the first lesson Graham taught her without intending to. Power was not the same as leadership. But the deeper transformation happened through Elsie. Graham began spending time with her again, carefully and appropriately, always with Vivian's knowledge. He encouraged Elsie to participate in activities she had avoided since the accident. He taught her simple breathing techniques and confidence exercises he had learned through years of military training. He never presented them as therapy. He simply helped her learn how to remain calm when fear appeared. One afternoon, Elsie became overwhelmed during a crowded community event. People were moving everywhere. A loud sound startled her. She froze. Vivian rushed toward her. But Graham gently signaled Vivian to stop. He approached Elsie slowly and gave her the same calm space he had given her the first day. Elsie eventually took his hand. Together they stepped away from the crowd. Vivian watched in silence. She realized that Graham was not trying to replace her. He was teaching her how to help her daughter without making fear stronger. Then Graham's own past came to the surface. During a private conversation, Vivian learned why he had left the Navy. Years earlier, Graham had been part of a rescue mission that ended badly. One of his closest teammates had been killed while Graham survived. For years, Graham carried guilt over that survival. He believed he should have done more. That guilt followed him home. He became distant. His marriage deteriorated. Eventually, he realized that if he continued living inside the past, his son would grow up with a father who was physically present but emotionally absent. So Graham chose to rebuild himself. Felix became his reason to keep moving. Elsie became another reminder that healing did not always happen by forgetting. Sometimes it happened by learning to live again. Vivian began changing too. She reduced Elsie's schedule. She stopped demanding constant improvement. She started asking her daughter what she wanted instead of deciding everything for her. And gradually, Elsie began becoming more independent. She returned to school activities. She made friends. She began riding horses with adaptive equipment. She even started drawing again, something she had abandoned after the accident. Graham never took credit. He simply kept showing up. Then came the day that changed everything. A bright afternoon charity event was being held on the company's grounds. Families gathered outside, children played, and employees participated in activities organized by Vivian's foundation. Elsie was sitting near a small garden with Felix when a temporary structure became unstable. A support cable snapped. The structure began collapsing toward the children. People screamed. Graham reacted instantly. His military training took over. He moved toward the children, shouted clear instructions, and guided them toward a safer area. He shielded Elsie and Felix while security personnel secured the damaged structure. The danger passed quickly. But Graham had been struck on the shoulder by a falling section. Vivian rushed toward him. She saw blood on his sleeve. Her first thought was not about the company's liability. It was not about money. It was about the man who had become important to her daughter. Elsie ran toward Graham. She held his hand and began crying. Graham smiled despite the pain. He told her through his expression that she was safe. Vivian finally understood something she had been resisting. Graham had not simply helped Elsie. He had helped Vivian become a better mother. She apologized to him again, but this time her apology was deeper. She admitted that wealth had taught her how to solve problems with money, while fear had taught her to control everything. Graham told her that neither approach could guarantee safety. But love could create strength. From then on, their relationship changed. Vivian and Graham became close friends, slowly building trust without rushing into anything. Felix and Elsie became inseparable. Their friendship gave both children something they had been missing, someone who understood them without needing explanations. Months later, Vivian established a foundation for children recovering from trauma. Graham became involved as a mentor, teaching families about resilience, discipline, and the importance of patience. He never called himself a hero. He simply believed that if someone had helped him rebuild his life, he should do the same for someone else. One afternoon, Vivian stood outside the foundation's new community center and watched Elsie and Felix painting a large mural. The picture showed 4 people standing beneath a bright blue sky. One was a mother. One was a father. 2 were children. Vivian looked at Graham. He looked at the mural. Neither needed to explain what it meant. Their lives had not become perfect. They had become meaningful. Before we reach the ending, please leave a meaningful comment telling us what you think Vivian learned from Graham. Was it that leadership requires humility, that children need trust more than protection, or that forgiveness can create a future that fear never could? Share your thoughts with our community, because your comment might give hope to someone who is struggling to let go of the past. Years later, Elsie still remembered the afternoon she ran across that marble lobby. She remembered being afraid that Graham was leaving. She remembered his arms catching her. And she remembered the look on her mother's face. It was the moment everything changed. Vivian had once believed that firing Graham would protect her family from an unknown risk. Instead, watching her daughter run into his arms forced her to confront the truth. The man she had dismissed was not a threat. He was someone who understood pain, responsibility, and courage. The former Navy SEAL had spent years protecting strangers in dangerous places. But his most important mission turned out to be much quieter. He helped a frightened child believe that the world could still be safe. He helped a powerful woman understand that love was not control. And he helped a broken family discover that sometimes the people we almost push away are the very people who teach us how to stay. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey.